Welcome to the second quality management lesson. In this lesson, we are going to go over the main principles of business process improvement. Business process improvement, or BPI, is a core requirement for quality management system implementation. Lesson objectives. By the end of this lesson, we hope we can provide you with answers to the following key questions. What is a process? How to analyze and design a process? How to control a process? What are the major business life cycles, or BLCs, and related processes? How to implement a quality management system? What is a process? A process is a method that's used to perform a certain task. Of course, work is accomplished in every organization through a set of processes. A process can consist of one step or hundreds of steps. A process is a sequence of actions with defined outcome. An outcome may include services, products, or a combination of both. The anatomy of a process. There are 12 questions that you can use to dissect a process. The first step towards understanding the process is to analyze and document it. One of the best ways to do so is to use what's commonly known as the 6 Brothers of Wisdom framework. These questions are essential to answer for managing and optimizing or re-engineering a business process. Key questions to ask. Before we ask the questions, the 6 Brothers of Wisdom include what, why, who, when, where, and how. We're going to discuss this in more details in later slides. So the key questions to ask are, what is the objective of the process? Is the process objective to sell, or to produce, or to control? What is the impact of the process? How does it impact the business? Does this process influence productivity directly or indirectly? The third question is, what is the scope of the process, or the domain? How many departments or functions are associated with the process? The fourth question is the location, where this process takes place, or what department. I lost track of questions, but the following question is input, processing, and output. Who are the suppliers for the input for the process, and who are the customers or the users of the output? Sometimes a process is internal, and the customers would be an internal customer, like another department or a manager. Sometimes the process is external, and the customer would be an external customer, like the customer you sell to. One of the 12 questions also include the ownership. The ownership of the process. Who has the authority to execute this process, and who has the authority to change it? The eighth question to ask is the flow of the process. Basically, what's the workflow or the sequence of steps that's taken from the start till the end to achieve objectives or produce a product or a service? Interaction. The ninth question is, does this process interact with other departments or other processes? For example, you might have a legal risk management process within the legal department, and you might have the marketing department with their own advertising process. Now, many times before the marketing team publish an advertisement, they have to check with the legal department for compliance with the language. So there's an interaction between the legal risk management and the marketing and advertisement process. The 11th question is the time. How much time does it take to complete a process? What's the duration for each step within that process? The 12th and the final question to ask is the data and the records that needs to be kept to document and trace the steps within the process. To analyze a process, to analyze or design an enterprise process, you need to go through 5 steps. The first step is information collection of organizations and methods, O&M, through questions, surveys, observations, and technology sensors. The second step is the analysis of cause and effect. The third step is the flow, or the sequence of steps. The fourth step is the strengths and weaknesses of the process. You need to identify where are the weaknesses so you can work on improving them. And of course, after you have identified strengths and weaknesses, the final step is to conduct design improvement. And this is done if on enterprise level is done on through business re-engineering. If it is a production level, it's done through a production loop improvement. Improvement means, from a process perspective, means adding an additional control to guarantee meeting certain specifications, or elimination of unnecessary steps. Process controls. We can establish a process quality assurance by first, after of course defining the process, by first establishing controls, then monitoring those controls, analyzing the deviations, and then taking corrective actions. For example, let's evaluate the sales process. Let's say there is a 20% variation in the defined established controls or the defined performance standards. The sales manager will have to analyze the cause and effect that led to this deviation and take corrective actions. If the cause is individual, the individual salesperson not meeting his or her quota, then the corrective action available for the manager is to either train the sales professional or probably replace them, or replace her or him. If the problem, if analyzing the deviation or the cause, the root cause analysis mistake, so I have to repeat. So after analyzing the deviation, if the problem or the cause of the deviation is not within the individual, then you will look at the system. Maybe the incentive system is not good enough to motivate the salesperson to achieve the quota. Sometimes the the root cause for the deviation is not even within the system, or the organization and is external to it. For example, there is an economic downturn and there is less demand for the products, or there is a new replacement product by a competitor that has the same functionality but is offered at lower price. So in this, then corrective actions will have to take care or address strategy modifications rather than doing changes to the operations. Process controls. Another example of process controls include regular maintenance. Test equipments, which means using suitable or actually conducting suitable maintenance of equipments to prevent failures. Examples of such maintenance include control test equipments, feedback loop like customer surveys, control of non-conforming items, includes measures to prevent defective products from being used or sold, preventive actions, this specifically aimed at prevention of failure via learned proactive measures and previous corrective actions. Data control includes data and document control. This includes measures to prevent failures due to the use of incorrect, invalid, out-of-date documents and data. Let's take a look at the business as a process. The process has an input, processing, stage, and output. You inject money, people, efforts, and technology into the process, the enterprise process, and the output of that would be the products, services, and hopefully more money. End-to-end enterprise business life cycles. Enterprise business processes are divided into 7 functions: legal, finance, HR, or human resources, research and development, SCM or supply chain management, production and manufacturing. The 7th function is marketing, or the seventh business life cycle is marketing. And marketing includes sub-processes like market research, promotion, sales, and customer care. An example of how these processes work together to build a business is an entrepreneur first, before he or she starts a business, an entrepreneur would have first to incorporate the business, either as LLC or incorporation, a private or a public company. This is done in order to minimize liabilities and protect the assets of the company. After you incorporate the company or the business, you have to provide financing, and this is done for the operation, and this is done through getting a loan or through getting investors. After you get the money, of course, you hire the people to conduct the administration and the research and development. After you design the products, you will have to procure or purchase the materials and equipments to manufacture your product. Then, of course, the materials that you bought, the raw materials, are put into the manufacturing process, and you have a product. The product is packaged, and it's ready to be sold. The marketing team, with their own sub-processes, would create an advertising campaign, promotion, and sales. Once the product is sold, then, of course, customer care will take care of customer inquiries and troubleshooting of issues and problems. So, with this slide, we've basically illustrated the end-to-end business life cycle and the major sub-processes within. Of course, this is very complex to manage ad hoc without having a formal system. Therefore, a business management system is required in order to ensure success of your enterprise business process and, of course, your business, the survival of your business. This is done through creating a management system that plans activities within each business life cycle, facilitate the flow of information and tasks needed for day-to-day operations, record and monitor performance, and implement organization controls. Your goal as a quality manager or a quality consultant is to build quality controls for each process or business life cycle. It is also your role as a quality manager or a quality professional to improve the interaction between various business life cycles. An example would be the interaction between the legal department and the supply chain management. The supply chain management would require to draft contractual requirements for purchasing new products from a new supplier. They would also need support from the legal department in dispute resolution. Management functions. I'd like to focus a little bit on management best practices, and especially in the three main management tasks, including planning, execution, and control. With planning, the key management activities include strategy formulation, allocation of resources, budget, time, people, performance, standards, and tools. The execution activities is the acquiring or the execution of plans and acquiring, enabling, and developing teams and processes to achieve business objectives. With control task or control functions, we control the performance through the performance of the business or the process through project management, reward systems, monitoring deviations, reporting on performance, and taking corrective actions. This slide illustrates the 12 business life cycles that a telecom company needs to conduct in order to introduce a product into a market. Let's say the telecom company sells, in addition to the wireless services, they sell direct cell phones to the customers. On this part of the slide, this shows the how the managers manage the main processes through using a decision management models and tools, and by tracking performance metrics and reporting. and of course taking corrective actions for controlling the performance of each business life cycle. Manager starts with the first business life cycle, and that's the opportunity analysis. The questions they try to answer within this business life cycle is, do we enter a certain geographic market or not? Example of decision management tools would be to conduct a feasibility study and a SWOT analysis. A SWOT analysis is more of a competitive analysis model where you compare your strengths and weaknesses to your competitors and the existing market opportunities and threats to your business. So if you find that you are in a stronger position than your competition, then you most probably going to enter the market. But if you find that you are in a weaker position in terms of quality, features, and pricing than your competition, so probably your investment won't succeed. So it's better not to invest or enter a certain market. Example of performance metrics that you will look at in opportunity analysis business life cycle include market share, break-even analysis, among others. The second business life cycle, after the manager decided that they are going to enter a market, they would they would plan, design the network, and then they will procure telecom equipments. They will buy land, they will buy the license in the new market, and of course they will set up the towers and assemble them to start the production. After the setup of the towers and the wireless services, the engineers would inspect and test the services before they launch them into the market live. If they have bought their cell phones, or they outsourced the manufacturing of the cell phones to another vendor, the vendor would package and store the devices to be ready for shipping when the customer orders it. Now that they have the infrastructure ready within the market and the end devices available, they would launch their advertising and promotion campaign, and they will go through their sales process. The customers order the service and the cell phones. The service is provisioned within the infrastructure, and the cell phones are shipped and transported to the customers. Sometimes the customer has problems with the installation, so sometimes the customer actually does self-installation and testing. If there are problems, they would call customer care for support, and the customer care would walk them through the troubleshooting procedures. If it works, it's great. If it does not, then they would have to replace it. During the life cycle of the service, the customer might want to upgrade to a better service or to a better device. So and another process would involve the upgrade of the service or the devices, the replacement of them, and the disposal or recycling of the old phones. One more concept, your goal as a quality manager or a consultant is to build a process quality control across each of the business life cycle. So if you are approached to as an enterprise quality management consultant by a company to institute a quality management initiative within the organization, the first thing you do is try to understand their business life cycles, recruit subject matter expertise for each one of the business life cycle, and create performance standards and metrics, install and deploy tools to measure those metrics and performances, and report on them. And then, of course, establish quality controls and provide recommendations on how to improve the business process by saving time, error, effort, by saving time, effort, and money. The business system. So now that we understand the business life cycle, let's learn more about the business system. The main actors in a business system are investors, management and staff, suppliers, partners, channel or resellers, and customers. The success of the business system is dependent on the resources involvement, their motivation, if the resources mainly are people, and their knowledge and skills. Every business requires a business management system. A business management system consists of 6 subsystems or 6 elements. You need money to finance the operations. Your role as a manager is to ensure the quality of the financial process through capital expenditure, operational expenditure, accounting and control, cash flow, analysis for, and an accounting analysis for decision making. The second element is structure. And your role is to ensure the quality of the organization structure to bring people together and define their roles, their authorities and responsibilities, and establish proper communication lines. The third element of a business management system is the standards. And the standards include operational policies to comply with during work performance, like safety standards, quality standards, legal standards, etc. The fourth element of a business management system is the process or processes. And this include production and operation processes of day-to-day activities to achieve work, including project management, procedures, work methods. The fifth subsystem or element is the metrics. And metrics are used to identify performance measurements and key performance indicators. Examples would be, if it is a manufacturing process, would be heat, pressure, humidity, time. If it is a business process, it might include, the metrics might include sales per quarter, break even, cost break even of a certain product, and so on. As for the tools, the last but not least, the sixth subsystem of a business management system is tools. And tools are basically operational support systems monitoring, sensing, testing, alerting, analyzing, and reporting tools. Examples of these tools could be a simple spreadsheet or a complex system like enterprise resource planning software. Let's recap what we have covered in this course. We learned how to implement a quality management system. We defined a process. We learned how to analyze and design a process. We learned how to control a process. And we learned what are the major business life cycles and related processes and sub-processes. We also discussed the elements of a business management system. The online resources we recommend is the website of bestpracticesmanagementinstitute.org, and the address is www.bpminstitute.org. I also recommend the second website, Business Process Improvement and Technology, Business Process Improvement and Reengineering Handbook, prepared by the Office of Information Technology of the Federal Aviation Administration. And the website is faa.gov/AIT/BPI/handbook. And of course, for management best practices in general, you can go to iim-edu.org. For further information about this lesson, for exercises, question and answers, and reference materials, you can go to UNINETTUNO website and click on MedNetU section.